Of course, you're the Speaker of the House, not a member of the Senate. Is there any way Democrats can slow this nomination down or block it?
Well, as you say, that is a matter for the Senate. But I will say this. It's really important for everyone to get out there and vote. The day that Justice passed away, 10 states started early voting that day. We just want everyone across the country who cares about health care for all Americans, who cares about crushing the coronavirus, who cares about a woman's right to choose, who cares about LGBTQ rights. The list goes on and on to vote. The election is very important.
You are in the middle of negotiations over government funding. The government runs out of funding at the end of September. Is there any way you can use leverage in those negotiations to slow this nomination down?
Well, none of us has any interest in shutting down government. That has such a harmful and painful impact on so many people in our country. I do hope, though, that the focus on health care and what it means in terms of the courts will have public opinion be of such magnitude that the Republicans will finally address the coronavirus crisis, finally subscribe to a plan to crush the virus, to listen to scientists about testing, tracing, treatment, mask wearing, sanitation, ventilation, social distancing. Why have we not adopted that as a country? That is a place where we can slow the growth and perhaps crush this virus. Instead, well, I don't want to go into instead. You know what instead is.
Let me press you, though, on what happens. You said you want people to get out there and vote, but even that's no guarantee that the White House and Senate Republicans won't try to push through a Supreme Court nomination in a lame duck session, even if Joe Biden wins on November 3rd, even if Democrats pick up seats in the House and maybe even the Senate. So what can you do then? Some have mentioned the possibility, if they try to push through a nominee in a lame duck session, that you and the House could move to impeach President Trump or Attorney General Barr as a way of stalling and preventing the Senate from acting on this nomination.
Well, we have our options. We have arrows in our quiver that I'm not about to discuss right now. But the fact is, we have a big challenge in our country. This president has threatened to not even accept the results of the election with statements that he and his henchmen have made. So right now, our main goal, and I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg would want that to be, would be to protect the integrity of the election as we protect the American people from the coronavirus. And I have faith in the American people on this Sunday morning. I hope and pray we have a vaccine and that it will be soon, but it must be safe and efficacious when we do, not one day sooner, not one day later than that. But the fact is, this administration has been a total failure in protecting the health and well-being of the American people, and it has had an impact on our economy. The lives, the livelihood, and the life of our democracy are threatened by this administration. So again, when people say, what can I do? You can vote, you can get out the vote, and you can do so as soon as possible. 10 states, as I said, on Friday started their early voting the day that we lost Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
But to be clear, you're not taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out.
Good morning. Sunday morning. We have a responsibility. We take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. We have a responsibility to meet the needs of the American people. When we weigh the equities, protecting our democracy requires us to use every arrow in our quiver.
This can only happen in North Carolina. I hope you hear that back home. Look at all that press. That's a lot of press. That's a lot of fake news. A lot of fake news. Well, I hope they hear. So the chant, this is a new one. Fill that seat.
And most likely, if you go to every single rally and the people that support Trump, they're all screaming and yelling, fill that seat. They don't want him to wait. But who does want him to wait? The mainstream media, the corrupt politicians, the deep state, and the rest. They don't want him to fill this position. Now, what's very interesting is that Pelosi, she is talking about using impeachment to stop the SCOTUS nomination. She says we have arrows in our quiver. Now, this is very odd. She was being interviewed by Stephanopoulos on ABC, and he mentioned, do you think he should be impeached if he nominates an individual for the Supreme Court before the election? And this is when she responded. So nobody was talking about this until the mainstream media brought this up. Was this planned? Of course it was. So let's get this straight. Nancy's going to try to impeach him because he's following the Constitution. The Constitution says he needs to fill this position. And they don't want this to happen. Is this going to work? Of course it isn't. They're panicking. They know that they can't impeachment on this. They don't have anything. Yes, will they dig something else up? They'll try again. Will it work? No, it will be shut down very, very quickly. Now, with RBG out of the way, what else does this do? Well, it allows the Affordable Care Act to be challenged. Remember, this is coming up on November 10th, a couple days after the election, and they're going to review Obamacare. Remember, Obamacare is a complete and utter disaster. Before Trump came into the picture, Obama's Obamacare exchanges, they were going bankrupt one after another. It was a complete and utter disaster. The insurance premiums on those people that wanted to purchase insurance was skyrocketing. And it, in some places, it doubled or tripled where people couldn't even afford it. Plus, there was a penalty on there if you didn't do what they said to do, get insurance. And most of the people couldn't even afford it. It was hurting people. But what's very interesting is that all these individuals, what they said back in 2016 is completely what they're saying today. Let's go back in time here. This is February 2016. This is Chuck Schumer. He said everything has changed. The politics are completely different on the court. Attention GOP, senators confirmed 17 SCOTUS justices in presidential election years. So this is interesting because they were trying to get a Supreme Court justice onto the Supreme Court during the 2016 election. That's what he said. What does he say today? The American people should have a voice in the selection of their next Supreme Court justice. Therefore, this vacancy should not be filled until we have a new president. Well, first of all, the American people do have a voice. They voted for Trump. Trump will carry out the people's will to put a Supreme Court justice on the Supreme Court. That's how the people have a say. But look how he's completely opposite of what he talked about in 2016. Let's look at Hillary Clinton here. This is what she wrote. This is her statement on the passing of Justice Scalia. The Republicans in the Senate and on the campaign trail who are calling for Justice Scalia's seat to remain vacant dishonor our Constitution. The Senate has a constitutional responsibility here that it cannot abdicate for partisan political reasons. She's absolutely right. The president must follow the Constitution. Then we move on to Obama. Now, this is a clip of Obama talking about the Constitution, the Supreme Court. Take a listen.
It's supposed to happen now. When there is a vacancy on the Supreme Court, the President of the United States is to nominate someone. The Senate is to consider that nomination, and either they disapprove of that nominee or that nominee is elevated to the Supreme Court. Historically, this has not been viewed as a question. There's no unwritten law that says that it can only be done on off years. That's not in the constitutional text.
So if we go back to his Twitter account, which is back in 2016, this is what he said. The need for a ninth justice is undeniably clear. Already this past June, we saw a deadlocked Supreme Court with no tie-breaking vote, unable to reach a majority on a major immigration case, leaving our nation's immigrants in limbo. Today, what does he say? Obama calls on Senate not to fill Ginsburg vacancy until after election. So back then, he was saying we cannot leave the country in limbo, and we cannot leave the country in limbo. This goes against the Constitution. Now, they were asking Trump, who does he believe is the next pick? And he's saying that it most likely will be a woman, which I agree with him. I do believe he should be placing a woman on the Supreme Court. And we can see that the deep state, the corrupt politicians, they are going to hit very hard at this individual. But Undercover Huber, he pointed out something very interesting, because all these individuals who are trying to stop this, saying that we cannot do this before the election, we don't have enough time. Undercover Huber tweeted this out. A total of 61 SCOTUS justices have been nominated and confirmed to the Supreme Court since the turn of the last century, 1900. 70% of these 43 justices were confirmed in under 46 days, the amount of time remaining until November 3rd presidential election. Then he gave a list. Lewis Powell, 45. RBG, 42. Harlan Stone, 31. Arthur Goldberg, 25. And actually, he continued listing all these, and there have been 4 Supreme Court justices that were nominated, confirmed on the same day. James Byrne, George Sutherland, 0 days, William Taft, which he became the Chief Justice, Edward White. All these individuals were nominated and confirmed on the same day. And the list that he gave, it is completely possible. Now, we know that the Senate was always the key, was the target. Why was the Senate the target? Think about the Senate and think about the House. If Trump, the Patriots, went after the House and they lost the Senate, the House would be able to create laws, bills that would be passed to the Senate. What would the Senate do at that point? They would block every bill the Republicans passed in the House because they didn't control the Senate. Why did Trump and the Patriots decide to go after the Senate instead? Because it works in 2 different ways. One, it acts as a firewall, a shield. Everything the Democrats try to throw out there with these different bills, the Senate can block. The Senate also has the power to review the nomination and confirm individuals. What has Trump been doing this entire time? He's been nominating federal judges, and the Senate has been confirming them. Why was this important? This was important for the trials. This was important to remove all those judges that were blackmailed, that were corrupt, with judges that were going to follow the rule of law. What else is the Senate good for? The Senate also confirms the Supreme Court. Can you imagine if it was the other way and they went after the House and not the Senate? Do you think these federal judges would have been confirmed? Do you think the Supreme Court justices would have been confirmed? No, they wouldn't. This is why it was always the key. Now, yes, there's going to be certain individuals, probably like Romney, Kurkowski, who are not going to vote for what Trump wants. With the rest of the Republican Party. We've seen this in the past. But I do believe there's enough votes there to carry this through. And I want to go back to post 2448. It says, we are at war. This is November 7, 2018, by the way. Think logically. Why was winning the House majority the primary goal for them? To this point, what chamber is currently directing the Department of Justice FBI investigations? To this point, what chamber do they feel most threatened by? While the focus was on the House for them, due to above, our underlying focus was adding pro-POTUS members to the Senate and safely securing a pro-majority. The Senate is worth so much more. The Senate controls judges, cabinet positions, without House approval. The Senate Judiciary Committee has direct oversight over the Department of Justice and FBI, more power than the House. The Senate was always the primary objective. And it was. Because look what they have done with the Senate. This is very important. This entire plan, each piece of the plan, was put into place on purpose. You might not have seen it at the very beginning, but here we are at the end. And look what it has done. Now, think about the next part of this. Everyone is worried about the elections, the manipulation, the chaos. We know their plan. We know the playbook. We know exactly what they're trying to do. What happens if there's no determination because of the chaos, the manipulation in the elections. Who decides the election? The Supreme Court. Was this done before? Yes, it was. There's already a precedent. Remember 2000? The battle between Bush versus Gore? What did the Supreme Court do? It made a decision. So everything the deep state, the corrupt politicians are trying to do, this changes the entire dynamic of the race. It's amazing how all these things just fall into place at the very last minute. Now remember, the Patriot Intelligence Insider has been telling us that what drugs are really being used with RBG. How is she kept alive? This was done for a specific reason. The deep state, the corrupt politicians, thought they would be able to use this at the right moment to change the narrative, to change the entire storyline. Because what has happened? There are riots, there are events of COVID. People are starting to see the truth. Actually, a lot of people are starting to see the truth. Their events are falling apart. So how do you clog the news cycle? How do you change the narrative at the right moment? What they didn't realize is that this falls right into the Patriots' plan. And now they're trapped. Now, they do believe everything that they're pushing out there about how Trump can't nominate someone, how we can't approve them. Remember, who controls the Senate? Not the Democrats, not the mainstream media, not the corrupt politicians. And it's Trump's constitutional duty to nominate someone and have someone put on the Supreme Court. And this is what he tweeted out. This is Trump. At GOP, we were put in this position of power and importance to make decisions for the people who so proudly elected us, the most important of which has long been considered to be the selection of the United States Supreme Court justices. We have this obligation without delay. Now, McConnell is already saying, yes, we are going to push this through. What does this mean? This means Trump is going to have someone in that position before the elections. This means the deep state, they have lost all leverage. Everything that they're going to try to do, and I do believe this is why the Patriot Intelligence Insider has told us, go back to the beginning to understand the end. What happens at the end? The deep state pushes the riots. They push mayhem. They push chaos. Now, once the Supreme Court makes their decision and the election chaos ends and Trump is now the president, what can he do to stop this? Well, we know he can use the National Guard. We know he can say that this is an insurgency. Because remember, the deep state is going to push this as hard as they possibly can. Do things a lot worse than what we're seeing today. But the difference is the people are awake. They understand this. They see it. They see clearly. But yes, we're going to go through a very bumpy road during this small window where the Supreme Court is looking at this and they're creating chaos to basically clog the news cycles, try to change the narrative, try to get him out of office. And it's going to be a very chaotic, hectic time. But right after that, I do believe law and order is going to control the entire situation. And we're going to see major arrests, and we're going to see the Patriots control the entire situation. But between this small window here, I do believe that everyone should be prepared and ready for what is coming. Just like being prepared when the pandemic hit, like being prepared when the riots started and the fires started. Yes, there's going to be a small window, but today more people are awake than are sleeping. So things are going to look a little different. Patriots are going to be out there. Patriots are going to be taking control. And we can see that the deep state, they're going to deploy everything they possibly have. But who has the upper hand in the end? Trump and the Patriots. We're completely in control.